Hey guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina with another Sunday night live stream fishing show. Thanks for tuning in, guys. It is Sunday night, February 9th, and we are going to get started here very shortly. Happy Sunday night, guys. Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina, and it is Sunday night, February 9th at 8:24 p.m. We are getting ready for our live stream fishing show. That's right, our Sunday night live stream fishing show has begun, and we are back at it with our Sunday night live stream fishing show. That's every Sunday night right here on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook and Hubbard's Marina YouTube channel. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and I appreciate you joining us for this live stream fishing show tonight. We're going to be talking all about fishing tips, tricks, and more, giving away free trips and answering questions and talking about weather and showing photos and much more. If you are watching live, if you're watching Sunday night, February 9th at 8:25 p.m., bear with me. We are going to get started here in about 5 to 7 minutes. If you're not watching live, if you're watching this some other time other than February 9th at 8:25 p.m., you can skip forward to where you see the video start. You don't have to sit through the pre-roll portion of this if you are not watching live. You can skip forward to where you see the video start. If you're watching live, bear with me. We're going to give it a few minutes here, let some more people join, and we're going to get set up here on this side of things. So bear with me, and we're going to get started here very shortly. So I appreciate everybody tuning in for our Sunday night live stream show. We're going to be talking all about fishing tips, tricks, and more. And hopefully you guys are ready for another great show. We've got tons of stuff to show tonight and lots of great photos and stuff to talk about. Plus, we're going to talk a little bit about the weather as well. So hopefully you guys are sit back and ready. You've got your drinks, you've got your popcorn, you've got some questions, because we are just about ready to get started. So thank you for tuning in, and I appreciate it as always. We are going to get started very shortly. Remember to comment where you're watching from. Don't forget to tag your friends. Don't forget to share this video with your favorite fishing club or fishing group, because we do need to get 400 live viewers in order to give away a free 39-hour fishing trip. That's right, someone's going to win possibly a free 39-hour fishing trip. And then we're also going to give away a 5-hour half day for 2 guests. We're going to give away a 10-hour all day for 2 guests. And we're going to give away a lot of free fishing trips. So thanks for tuning in, y'all. Again, Captain Dylan Hubbard here at beautiful Hubbard's Marina inside Fish Famous Johns Pass. We started back in 1928 from rowboats with cane poles. Nearly 100 years and 4 generations, we've been deep sea fishing, and I appreciate everybody tuning in with me tonight to talk all about fishing, and hopefully I will be able to shed some light on some fishing questions that you might have. Looking forward to hanging out with you guys tonight and talking more about fishing tips, tricks, and more, showing photos, and giving away free stuff, because everybody likes free stuff. Who's ready to win a free trip? Now, in order to win a free trip, you do have to be watching live. And if you're picked as one of those lucky winners, all you have to do is text us. Text our Hubbard's Marina main office number. That's 727-393-1947. So you text us letting us know, hey, I was just chosen as a lucky winner, and you include your home address, and I will mail you out a gift certificate towards a free trip. So all you have to do is watch live, but you do have to continue to be watching live, and you do have to comment at least one time in order to be eligible to win. So comment one time and then sit back and enjoy the show. And when we give away those free trips, your name might be picked as one of those lucky winners. So definitely stay tuned. We are going to get started here very shortly, and we're going to get rolling, and hopefully you guys are going to enjoy the show, and hopefully you got some questions for me, because we are going to be talking all about what you guys want to hear, and hopefully we will have some people enjoying the show with us, because we want to try to give away that free 39-hour fishing trip. We do have to unfortunately have 400 live viewers to give away a free 39-hour trip. But even if we don't have 400 live viewers, someone's going to get a free half price 39-hour trip. But most likely we will get up to that 400 live viewers mark. At least I hope so. We have been in the past with ease, so I have a feeling we'll be there. We're already at about 250 live viewers, so we're more than halfway there, and the show hasn't started yet. So I have faith you guys are going to share this video on your timeline, share it with your friends, call your buddies, pull it up on YouTube, and then we'll be able to give away that free 39-hour trip. But we are ready to rock and roll on our end of things. So let's get this show on the road. How you guys doing? Thanks for tuning in. Again, Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina. Thank you for watching tonight and hanging out with us here at Hubbard's Marina. Hubbard's Marina has been fishing local waters since 1928, over nearly 100 years and 4 generations. We've been hard at it, fishing nearshore and offshore. And tonight we're going to share some of that information with you. And we're going to be talking all about nearshore and offshore fishing, plus a little bit of inshore fishing stuff too. So let's get this thing kicked off, and we're going to start off inshore, talking about what we've been catching inshore and what we've been seeing. So let's pull up these inshore fishing photos and talk about the inshore fishing. So we have been seeing some mackerel lately. It is kind of odd that water's a little bit chilly right now, but we are still seeing some mackerel around. Here's a photo of John Sasser and one of the mackerel he caught at night fishing around those bridges in the passes. We've been seeing some redfish, especially on those shallow mangrove shorelines. Those redfish are loving the artificial shrimp, the soft artificial paddle tails, the soft plastics, and also smaller live pinfish and the live shrimp are all great options for these redfish. Shallow mangrove shorelines, shallow oyster bars. The afternoon's been a little better, especially when that water's cold. We've been seeing some of those redfish all throughout the area. Here is a soft plastic fluke style bait you can see hanging out of that redfish's mouth. That's Luke Simons, our buddy over at Salt Strong. Christian Picon, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I apologize if I mispronounced it, Christian, but showing off a really nice redfish. Again, mangrove shorelines on this one too in the upper bay. Michaela Coffin with another big redfish. Beautiful redfish there. The redfish bite is really good in those back bay areas. A lot of wade fishermen catching those nice redfish lately. Here's Eric showing off one of his big redfish. This was 27 inches. Those dock lines are also a great area to target those redfish this time of year. Those shallow waters, especially in the afternoon, those redfish are taking refuge and trying to keep themselves warm in the upper bay areas. another redfish. This is actually a different fish. That one, this one, different fish, promise. Eric catches a lot of those big redfish and some nice big snook. Here's Brian Cools and his son, I think, with a nice sheep's head. The sheep's head bite has been crazy good lately. We've been seeing a lot of sheep's head caught off our dock. Jason Colleen and his dad were fishing this past week, catching some nice sheep's head off the dock. Brian's been catching some sheep's head throughout the area along those seawalls, the local bridges, jetties, piers, all great areas to target those sheep's head. Sheep's head love this cooler weather this time of year, so it's a great time to go after those sheep's head. They like a small piece of shrimp or even a fiddler crab or a cut clam or oyster, all great options for those sheep's head. These guys are really, really good eating fish. They're tough they're definitely tough to fillet, but they're very good eating fish. So highly recommend getting after those sheep's head and enjoying one of those fish when you have a chance, because they bite really well this time of year, and as that water warms up, they get a little bit more difficult. Another sheep's head from Brian. John Sasser and one of the many snook he catches. That one was on a flare hawk jig. We've been seeing a lot of snook around the area as well, mostly up in the back bay areas. In the upper bay is where we're seeing those snook caught, but we have been seeing some snook caught around the passes. John here only fishes around the passes, so this is definitely from the pass. But most of those snook are definitely up in the creeks right now. That the creeks, the river mouse, definitely a good area to target those snook as they're trying to regulate their body temperatures. I saw a video today, tons of snook loaded up, and it was in Homosassa at the springs. Those snook are all up in the river trying to regulate their body temperatures. In a natural spring, say 72 degrees throughout the entire year. So it's a good place for those snook to hide and make sure that they stay warm, because when it gets too cold, those snook go into a little bit of lethargic shock and they can actually die. So those snook go up in the back upper bay areas, the shallow waters, to try to stay warm this time of year. Also, like the redfish, dock lines are a great area to target because the land stays warm throughout the day and it holds temperature a little bit better, and that warm earth will radiate temperature through the seawall, and that's why those snook, redfish, sheep's head, trout all hang on those dock lines this time of year, especially when the water's a little chillier. Plus, in the back bay areas around these dock lines and the canals and stuff like that, that dark black mud bay water, that bay mud that's on the bottom, that actually holds and radiates temperature really well as well. So all good reasons why those dock lines are great areas to target this time of year to catch those species when you're looking inshore. Eric with another nice fish. The snook bite real good throughout the area. We've also been seeing a lot of trout. This is Steve Clott from up in Clearwater area showing off one of those speckled trout. The speckled trout are really working well around the grass flats, those edges of the grass flats, those potholes, those mangrove points, good areas to catch the trout. Also dock lines as well. At night, the dock lights, the bridge lights, also really good areas to target those speckled trout for sure. Now let's see here. What else we got? Another speckled trout from Luke Simons. This is Joe Simons, Luke's brother. These are the founders of Salt Strong. We got Luke and Joe. Great guys. They make a great team. They have really great product over there at Salt Strong. Here's John Sasser with another trout showing off those trout. The paddle tails, the soft plastic paddle tails is what John's been using to catch tons of those trout. The silver trout, the speckled trout, both biting really well right now for John. And that's the last inshore photo. So we're going to get rolling nearshore and see what we've been catching nearshore. And I think because we missed 2 weeks in a row, I think we're going to shake things up a little bit and go ahead and give away a free trip early and get you guys some extra free stuff tonight because we missed 2 weeks in a row. In my defense, I missed week before last due to the National Marine Fisheries meeting. We skipped last week because of the Super Bowl. We had some family stuff going on, so last week was kind of my choice. A week before National Marine Fisheries meeting, that was important. Couldn't miss that. So let's see who wins. We're going to give away a 5-hour half day for 2 guests. A 5-hour half day for 2 people coming at you now. Let's see who wins. Remember, if you're chosen as the lucky winner, you have to text our main office number. Text us at 727-393-1947. So Carlonda Calbert Head, text me at 727-393-1947, and I will send you out that 5-hour half day for 2. Now you have to text us with your home address, and you do have to text us within about 10 minutes or so because we want to make sure you're watching live and keeping it fair to everybody else who is watching live. We are going to give away another 5-hour half day for 2. So we're going to give away some extra stuff tonight, guys. So make sure you're on your toes and you watch the whole show because we're going to get a little bit crazy with the live show giveaways. All right, let's get into Nearshore. Let's see what we've been catching Nearshore. And Nearshore, the big story is definitely these hogfish. The hogfish bite has been really, really good for sure. Lots of great hogfish action. I'm trying to write down the questions as I see them as well, so I apologize. I'm going to get to your questions later in the show too. But the hogfish bite has been really, really good and definitely a great, great time out there on our 5-hour half day and 10-hour all days for these hogfish. We've been seeing them anywhere from about 30 to about 70 foot of water, and definitely been seeing a lot of those hogfish on those 5-hour half days. But the 10-hour all day is the best trip to target the hogfish for sure, because you get more fishing time and we get a little bit more flexibility to kind of dial in on those hogfish for sure. So if you want to target the hogs and catch a ton of them, or have a chance to catch a ton of them, the 10-hour all day is definitely the way to go. But you got a good shot at them on the half day. We've been catching a lot of them on the half days too. But let's look at some photos of all these hogfish lately. We've been seeing a lot of hogfish on our half day and all day trips. Today's 10-hour trip, Captain Bobby just got home from a 10-hour all day recently. And Seabass and John were the crew, and they actually caught 38 keeper hogfish today on the 10-hour all day. They crushed them on the 10-hour all day today. They also caught about 25 keeper mangrove snapper. They caught about 85 lane snapper. And they caught about 150 vermilion snapper and probably about 300 gray snapper or white grunts. And they even caught a handful of keeper red grouper as well. So the red grouper are around. We're not catching a ton of red grouper. Definitely the hogfish, as far as quality fish goes, the hogfish is definitely the one we're going after and targeting the most because they're biting best. But we're seeing a few of those mangrove snapper mixed in, and we're seeing a lot of the lane snapper as well. So great opportunity to get out there on the water. We've got a 10-hour all day Tuesday and Thursday as well. So really, really good opportunity right now to get out on the 10-hour all day and get those hogfish, lane snapper, maybe a mangrove snapper, and maybe even a red grouper as well. Here's some of those big mangrove or big hogfish too. The guys went out fishing for fun, and they had a great time catching some hogfish this past week. we've all been doing lots of work and maintenance getting ready for our spring season right around the corner. And that is what we've been working hard on, is getting all these boats ready for the long spring break season and the summertime season. And we took some time off the other day and went around and went out and caught some hogfish, had some fun. So great time out in the water to go get the hogfish. It's so much fun, even we're doing it on our time off. So here's some great hogfish photos for sure. Lots of happy people and big hogfish. 5-hour half days, mainly catching those gray snapper, what we call a gray snapper, also known as a white grunt. But we catch a few of those porgies and black sea bass, and then a handful of hogfish too. But the 10-hour all day is catching a lot of hogfish, a decent amount of mangrove snapper, a lot of lanes, a handful of red grouper, and some good large amounts of those gray snapper and vermilion snapper too. Now, let's give away another 5-hour half-day fishing trip here real quick. Another 5-hour half-day for 2 people coming at you. Remember, if you're picked as the lucky winner, you do have to text us. Text us at 727-393-1947. Shoot me a text with your name and home address. Travis Gallagher, you are the lucky winner of another 5-hour half-day for 2 people. And let's go ahead and do a 10-hour all day for 2 people. We're rapid firing at you guys right now. So 10-hour all day for 2 people. Let's see who won a 10-hour all day for 2. Frank Coffee. I'm going to go with Coffee. Probably not right, but Frank, you are the lucky winner of a 10-hour all day for 2. Remember, you got to text our main office number. That's 727-393-1947. Text us your name and your home address within about 10 minutes, and we'll make sure that you get those free trip gift certificates mailed out to you in a rapid fashion. So let's get into offshore photos, and let's look at some of those offshore pics and see what we've been doing offshore. So offshore right now, we have what's called the deep water closure. The deep water closure is in effect for the months of February and March, and that's only for deep water deeper than 120 foot, and it's only closing the grouper species, the shallow water grouper complex. So red grouper, scamp grouper, you cannot keep them in the months of February and March, only when you're fishing past 120 foot. So that's what that means. Now, on our 39-hour trips, what we do is we head out there a little deeper. We start out fishing at night, probably most likely around 150, maybe even 180 foot of water out deeper where those grouper are closed, because at night we don't really catch the red grouper and scamp grouper very much, if at all. And we target those mangrove snapper where they're biting well, catch some mangrove snapper, some yellowtails, maybe some big vermilions, porgies, almaco jacks. And then as the sun rises, we come inshore, inside that where the fish are open, inside 120 foot or 20 fathoms. And then through the day, we can target those red grouper and catch and keep those red grouper or scamp grouper during the day. So that's how we get around this deep water closure thing this time of year. And again, the deep water closure is only during the months of February and March. As of April 1st, it is over. So not a very long stretch of close time, but that's how it is working on the deep water closure. So these are some of the red grouper that we caught out deep before that deep water closure set in. We were catching lots of big fat red grouper and some big mangrove snapper, some nice mutton snapper as well. Fat red groupers. So we're hoping to get back out there. We've got a 39-hour trip Tuesday, and we're looking forward to getting back out there and hopefully hammering some more nice mangrove snapper and some of these grouper species as well. So going to be a little tougher to get these big scamp when we're fishing in a little shallower, but we're going to do the best we can to get on them for sure. And by the way, guys, we did just hit through 400 live viewers between Facebook and YouTube. So someone is going to win a free 39-hour fishing trip. All you have to do is just watch the show, but remember, you got to stay tuned, because if you're not watching live, you can't win, and you have to comment at least one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. You got to be on Hubbard's Marina's page. You got to comment on the live video. That's how you enter to win. Then you watch the show. If you're picked as a winner, you message or you text me your home address, and we send you out the certificate. So last time I'm going to explain it. I was accused lately of not explaining it well enough, so we want to make sure that I emphasize it tonight for you guys. And on that note, I think it's time to give away another 10-hour all day for 2 people. Let's see who won a 10-hour all day for 2 guests here with us at Hubbard's Marina. 10-hour all day for 2 coming at you. Larry Collins, where do you film this show? That's a secret. No, this is just a live stream show, so I do it all from a computer at my home. A lot of people think it's at the marina, but we actually don't have that great at internet at the marina, so I can't do this there, and it's easy at my house. So that's where I do it, at my house. The secret is out of the bag, but a lot of fun to do these shows, and I appreciate everybody hanging out with me, and hopefully everybody enjoys the show. So let's see here. We had some photos to show you of the Flying Hub 2. The Flying Hub 2 has been getting some work done to it, about $100,000 in work done to it, but we're excited, and we're happy to show off the new Flying Hub 2. Nothing has changed except for it's got a lot of money and brand new motors hanging on the back. Those are brand new Yamaha 425 XTOs. XTO is a new line of Yamaha engine. It is new to the U.S. market in the last year or two, probably about 2 years it's been on the market. We never get brand new engines that are new to the market because we want something that's had time to be tested and rigorously abused before we put it on one of our boats for commercial applications. So the XTO is definitely bad to the bone. Yamaha really did a lot of cool stuff to this motor. It's got electric steering. It's got some really unique features. Plus, it's got 425 horsepower. So we've been running the Flying Hub 2 quite a bit the last week, testing it out, putting it through its paces, breaking in these motors. We've got brand new Bob's Machine Shop custom jack plates on the back with those Yamaha XTO 425s from Central Marine Service. So Central Marine and their great team has been on the boat quite a bit. We're really excited to get this thing back into service. Right now, the biggest problem we have is the Coast Guard. Because we switched from 350s to 425s, we added about 400 pounds to the boat. Whenever you change features of the boat, we changed generators on the Friendly and literally only changed the net weight of the boat by 100 pounds, like 110 pounds. And the Coast Guard threatened to shut us down because we didn't do a new stability test. So whenever you remove or add or just switch things out on the boat, if it's not the same exact thing, on a Coast Guard inspected vessel, they make us jump through a lot of hoops and red tape. Now, it's all in the name of passenger safety, and we're all about keeping our passengers safe, so I'm not going to complain too much, but it is a little frustrating. We've spent all this money, time, energy. The boat's sitting there. It's running great. We want to put people on it and run trips, but unfortunately, right now, we're waiting on the Coast Guard to sign off and say, hey, you're good to go. But we are going to do some test runs on that boat tomorrow. So if you're not fishing with us on our half-day fishing trip, we are going to be doing some test runs. And let's call Anthony right now and find out what time that's going to be. Because if you want, you can come down and take a free ride and check out the new motors. We just need bodies. We need bodies to get on the boat. And since it's not Coast Guard approved, since we don't have our new stability test, we can't charge anybody. So it's going to be a free ride. We're not going fishing. We're just going to ride out there and do some speed tests. And we need some bodies, some weight on the boat. So we want to get about 18 people, fill the boat up with fuel and ice, and see how fast she runs. Because it's been running really fast. But we haven't had 16, 18, 20 people on the boat yet. So let's see if Anthony answers my phone call, and we'll put him on the spot and see what time it is. Because hopefully you guys can come down and be those bodies that we need. It doesn't look like he's going to answer the phone. He's got kids. It was his son's birthday today. Shout out to Gavin.
Please leave your message for
Nope.
7-2.
So Anthony's son's birthday today. I forgot about that. So he's probably busy doing father stuff. What time do you want to test? So we'll text him, and hopefully he'll answer before the end of the show, and I can let you guys know. But we're definitely excited to test out the Flying Hub 2. So if you want to come down and ride the boat, shoot me a text, and I can let you know when we're going to do that. Again, we need about 16 people. And you can text us at 727-393-1947. So we got through all our photos, and now it's time to get into the questions. Let's see here. What questions did we have? All right. So some of the questions I noticed already were, I noticed when I'm fishing on a 10-hour all day, the last 2 fishing stops of the day are usually the best for me. Is that because it's later in the day? If so, do you think Tuesday will be a good trip because we're fishing later in the evening? It's a good question. Now, we are fishing later in the evening this Tuesday on the 10-hour trip because we got a little bit of a unique situation. We've got super, super low tides right now because of this full moon and because it's winter time. And during the winter, we already have really low tides. So we've got a full moon, low tide, plus east winds, all variables that add together to make really big negative tides. So in the morning, we've been seeing negative 0.09, like almost a foot below sea level, sometimes even more than a foot below sea level. So there's literally no water around the bays in the morning. Now, this makes it great for inshore fishermen to scoot around and find those grass flats and sandbars and those potholes. If you can scoot around right now to your favorite grass flat, it gives you a great opportunity to see where those fish will hang out when the tide comes in, because it's really easy to identify potholes. And right now is a great time to find those little channels and those little cuts and gullies on these negative tides. But I digress. So I'm saying that because these negative tides make us leave a little later, because if we tried to leave at 7 a.m. Tuesday, our boat would literally be sitting on dry ground. So we can't leave at our normal time. So our 10-hour all day is leaving at 10 a.m. Tuesday. And our half-day trip Tuesday is leaving at 9 a.m. Tomorrow's half-day trip leaves at 11 a.m. So until Thursday, then we're back to normal. But we definitely have some unique departure times the next couple of days because of these low tides. But because of that, we are going to be fishing later in the evening. So today's 10-hour trip, as I told you before, 38 hogfish, 25 keeper mangroves, a few red grouper, tons of lanes, almost 90 lane snapper. They did really well on the 10-hour trip today, but it was actually really slow at the start of the trip. Then all of a sudden around Late afternoon, the bite picked up and we were able to fish later in the day. So the bite actually was mostly towards the second half of the day. And that's how it's been lately with this cooler weather. The bite's definitely been a little better later in our trips. But it's going to start warming up and hopefully we'll start getting a better daytime bite throughout the entire day. But the mornings have definitely been a little bit slower. But to answer your question, the last two drops are usually the best for me. It's probably a lot to do with just working out the bugs. A lot of times I tell people a 5 hour half day trip is just not enough time to really dial in and get efficient and start catching a lot of fish. I like the 10 hour trip because it's enough. It's 6-7 hours of fishing trip or fishing time, and that gives you enough time to really get the hang of it and start catching fish and not missing fish. And that generally gives you enough time to dial in on them. And then just when you start getting the hang of it, not missing fish, doing a really good job catching them, hooking them, landing them, then it's time to go home. That's why I like the 39-hour fishing trip so much because it just gives you so much fishing time. 20 hours of fishing time. You can't go wrong on those 39-hour trips for that reason. And the 44-hour trip, even more fishing time. 12-hour extreme, you get a lot of fishing time too, but typically always the start of a trip, you're working out the bugs, getting the cobwebs off, knocking the rust off, as they say, and it's a little tougher to start. And then towards the end of the trip, the fishing typically picks up just because you're doing a little bit better job presenting the bait, not missing the bite, that kind of thing. But it's definitely a valid point this time of year that the bite's a little better in the afternoon. Now, another question I saw was, how shallow have you guys been catching legal red grouper? Now, we've catch red groupers sometimes as shallow as 35, 40 foot of water. Now, most of the time, we've been catching those keeper red grouper a little deeper, closer to around, let's say, 70 to 100 foot. They start getting a little bit more consistent, and then closer to anywhere from 120 beyond is when they're biting really good right now. But unfortunately, that area is closed, so we're having to fish a little shallower than we would like, but we are definitely catching a few nice red groupers still in close around 100 to 120 foot of water as well. So great time to catch those red grouper as long as the weather's good. But the red grouper bite overall has definitely not been as good as it has been in past years. So we're more focused nearshore fishing on those hogfish because we're catching them really well. And those lane snapper, mangrove snapper definitely doing really well. On our 39-hour trip, we'll definitely have more time to target those red grouper, and I think we'll do a lot better on those 39-hour trips just because we have a full day of targeting those red grouper, and we're going to be fishing right on that closure line in as deep as possible water. On our 10-hour trips, we just don't get that deep. We're only 60 to maybe 100 foot of water at most, so it's a little bit more tough to target those red grouper right on that closure line. They're out there spawning right now in deeper water, so fishing right on that line is definitely the best place to target those red grouper. So to answer your question, how shallow are you catching legal red grouper? Probably as shallow as 30 to 40 foot. Whereas best to catch them right now, probably around 110, 120 foot, just inside that closure line for those keeper red grouper. Now, another question I saw was, are you catching any tuna or kingfish on the 39-hour trips right now? We are not catching any tuna or kingfish on the 39-hour trips because we haven't ran any. The last two long-range trips were canceled due to weather. But we, on the last one before that, before those weather events were kind of screwing us up, we were definitely catching some tuna on that 39-hour fishing trip. So the tuna are definitely out there. Kingfish, little few and far between, but there's a handful of them out there in deeper water. So you have a shot at a kingfish, but tuna is definitely the prime suspect as far as pelagic fish this time of year. And maybe even a wahoo, you never know. So we're excited. We've got a super light load on our 39-hour trips coming up. We've got a 39-hour trip Friday, February 21st. We've got a 39-hour trip Friday, February 28th. Both of those trips got light loads on them. We've got a 39-hour trip this coming Tuesday, February 11th. That is not tomorrow, the next day, Tuesday, February 11th. Only about 30 people on that trip. And then we've got a 39-hour trip scheduled for Valentine's Day, Friday. But unfortunately, the way the weather looks, I don't know if we're going to be able to make that trip happen just because it looks to be a little bumpy starting on Valentine's Day. So that's probably a good thing for some of you guys. It's going to keep you out of the doghouse because you can't go fishing on Valentine's Day. But definitely the best option this week for 39-hour fishing is going to be Tuesday. Tuesday looks like really nice weather, so we're excited for this coming Tuesday's 39-hour trip. And it would be my suggestion, if you want to get out there and catch some big fish this week, that 39-hour trip Tuesday is the best option. And you might even see a tuna, to answer the question. Now, another question was, how far out is the dirty water right now? Now, it's calmed down quite a bit, so that dirty water is not as far out as we were expecting. It's only maybe about 10 miles or so out there. It wasn't that far today, so we're looking forward to a great week of fishing. We've got a little bit turbulent weather this week with low pressure, high pressures coming by, but definitely as far as seas are concerned, seas near shore, Monday through Friday are pretty much 2.5 foot or less. So the next 5 days all look like great opportunities to go out there near shore on our 5 and 10 hour trips and targets those hogfish. Now, another question I saw was, does Hubbard's Marina do any trips in the bay? Hubbard's Marina, our business, mostly focuses nearshore and offshore, but we partner with people, some experts, some local legends, if you will, for inshore fishing. So if you go to our fishing trips tab of our website, hubbardsmarina.com, click on fishing trips, you can see our 5-hour half day, our 10-hour all day, 12-hour night snapper trips, 12-hour night snapper trips, or you can go to long range and see our 12-hour extreme, 39 or 44-hour trips. And then those are our party boat options. You can also see our private fishing charter options. But down towards the bottom of the menu, you'll see inshore fishing. Now, if you click inshore fishing, this is going to take you to our inshore fishing page. So Captain Mike Anderson is our inshore fishing guru. He operates the Real Animals fishing team. It's a local radio and TV show here in our area. It's the radio show that I'm on every Saturday and Sunday morning. And sometimes he has me on to host with him. So his radio show and TV show is really popular, and he also charter fishes. And when he's too busy to take out trips, he's got a plethora of other local legends working with him too. So long story short, if you want to do a trip in the bay, if you want to catch snook, redfish, trout, tarpon, you want to go gator hunting, you want to go fly fishing, you want to go bow fishing. If you want to go fishing in the area, call me. Because if we don't do it ourselves, we work with someone like Captain Mike Anderson who can get you set up. And Captain Mike's info is right on our website. You can see the general pricing. You can give him a call on his cell phone. Make sure you tell him Hubbard's Marina sent you, and he can get you set up on some inshore bay fishing to answer that question. So to answer the question thoroughly, no, we don't technically do bay fishing ourselves, but we work with people who do. So another question was, has your son Jack been on a fishing trip yet? Unfortunately, no. The pediatrician knew who I was, and she told me in front of my wife that I was not allowed to take my son on a boat until he was grown up and had neck muscles to support their head. And the local Coast Guard squadron guy also told me in front of my wife that it's not a good idea to bring a baby on a boat until they're at least 1 year old to build up their neck muscles in order to, like, when you hit waves, that his head isn't going to jostle around. Now, I think I'm gonna sneak him out there a little sooner than 1 year old. But I'm gonna wait a little bit. He's only 5 months old right now, so it's a little early. But we've got big boats, we've got safe boats. So one of these really calm days, we're gonna take him out there fishing on the Florida, and definitely looking forward to that. But to answer your question, no, he has not been on one of the boats to go fishing quite yet. But he's doing well, and he's getting to be huge. He's monstrous. So another question I saw was, do you recommend lures or fresh bait? Not quite sure what they were suggesting with that question, whether they were talking about inshore fishing or offshore fishing. Inshore fishing, I like using artificial lures typically because I can cover more area. When you're inshore fishing on, like, let's say a grass flat, if you're fishing on that grass flat and you're using live bait, if you cast out into the middle of that grass flat, your live bait is only fishing that small area. Whereas if you come up to the same grass flat in your boat and you've got your trolling motor out and you're throwing an artificial lure, you could start at this edge of the grass flat and slowly work that entire grass flat, casting that artificial lure. And you can show your bait to more fish and generally be more successful catching more fish, especially if you're working that lure naturally and you're presenting that bait naturally. So definitely my preferred option inshore is artificial bait for that reason, because you can cover more area, show your bait to more fish, and generally be more successful. That is the preferred method inshore. Now, offshore bottom fishing, I would prefer to use either fresh dead bait or live bait. I prefer not to use artificial lures myself when I fish near shore and offshore, just because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and I enjoy bottom fishing, dropping that bait down, waiting for that bite, and setting that hook. It's just a lot of fun, and I can be pretty effective. So I prefer offshore to use dead bait, like the cut thread fin with a double snell rig is probably the best option, in my opinion, to start out offshore fishing. It gives you a great starting point, it helps you catch a lot of different variety, and we typically do really, really well. So fresh cut dead bait, the double snell rig offshore, but live bait works well too. Another question was, is that catch and release thing going on inshore? So inshore right now in our entire region, any snook, redfish, or trout are catch and release only. So if you catch a snook, redfish, or trout, you have to throw it back, and that is still going on inshore in our area. That is going on until the end of May 2020, and there's a FWC commission meeting coming up shortly where they're going to talk about that closure, and the FWC staff is actually recommending to the commission that they continue that closure, that catch and release only on snook, redfish, and trout another year. So that closure inshore is going to probably be around for another while longer. So if you're interested in that, definitely recommend attending the next FWC commission meeting and making yourselves known about how you feel on that, for sure. It's pretty interesting how you can go to those FWC commission meetings, Gulf Council, federal meetings, and as long as you're making educated comments and you're respectful, a lot of times you can definitely make some good progress, and people will eventually listen to you if you put in the time, for sure. But it is tricky, take it from me. Let's see here, what other questions? Another person said, my fiance went out on the 10-hour all-day trip with you guys today. Can't wait to see the photos and see how they did. The photos from our trips will all be compiled and emailed out to you. On our 39-hour trips and 44-hour trips, we actually put GoPros on the boat. We take a bunch of videos and photos and we get them all together after the trip's over, and we email them out to all the guests. So when you make a reservation, you give us your email, and after the trip you get an email saying the photos are from your trip are included. When you open that email, there's a link to download all your photos. When we have a really good trip like today's 10-hour trip and we got a bunch of photos, we do the same thing. So we are more than happy to take your photos for you absolutely free and send them to you absolutely free as well. Another question was, any information about red snapper? Red snapper season for federally permitted for-hire vessels, meaning charter boats, party boats with federal permits able to fish out in deep water in the Gulf of Mexico. Our red snapper season will 100% guaranteed open June 1st. And it will 100% guaranteed be at least 62 days. So it'll be at least open till August 2nd. But I would bet confidently that we're probably going to have about 66 days. So we planned at Hubbard's Marina on a June 1st to August 6th red snapper season. But red snapper season will not be final announced until probably around end of March, early April. We're heading out to Biloxi, Mississippi, I think, for a National Marine Fisheries meeting at the end of March. I think that starts March 30th. And at that meeting, we should hear what the red snapper season will be for 2020. And I am betting some good money that it's going to be August 6th. However many days that is, I think it's 66. But as far as private recreational red snapper for you guys not fishing with us, fishing on your own boats or your buddies' boats, that is going to probably be similar to it was last year, around mid-June to around mid-July, probably around 34 days or so, right in that range. But again, FWC hasn't announced their season either, so long story short, if you're waiting for red snapper, keep on waiting because they haven't announced those seasons. But don't wait to book, because if you want to go fishing for red snapper with us at Hubbard's Marina, book now, because those trips are already filling up. The first couple trips of red snapper season, like the first couple weeks, are already sold out. We've only got like a half dozen days left to book on the Flying Hub 2 if you want private charters for red snapper. I mean, trips fill very fast for red snapper. So if you want to book for red snapper, don't wait for the season to be finally announced. Go on my educated guess, because that's the best you're going to get until they announce. And then once they announce, it's already going to be over. It's already going to be full. So definitely hurry up and book now for red snapper season. A good question here was, when is that FWC meeting coming up where we can go and talk about closures on snook, redfish, and trout? That's a great question, and I'm going to show you something right here real fast. So this is what I do quite often for FWC, because we're federally permitted, so I attend all the Gulf Council meetings, and the Gulf of Mexico Fishery Management Council is the one who handles all of federal water regulations. So snook, redfish, and trout don't mean anything to these people. These are the guys who make regulations in federal waters, and that's gulfcouncil.org. You can just go to their website, and they have this handy dandy calendar that I seem to end up planning my life by. And you can just scroll back and forth through the months, and it will show you when and where these meetings. So I'll be heading to Gulf Shores, Alabama, March 30th for that meeting, and that's probably when we're going to find out what our red snapper season is. Again, that's gulfcouncil.org. Now, for FWC, all I do for FWC is their link is really hard to find, and their dates are a little bit more tricky. So I type them into Google. FWC commission meetings. Look, it already popped up because I Google it a lot. FWC commission meetings 2020, and that very first link is going to bring us to the dates for the upcoming meetings. So the next one is February 19th. Let's see here. That's in Tallahassee, Florida, which is really not that bad of a drive. I drove up to Tallahassee for a recent FWC meeting myself, and it was only about 5 hours. So it's not that bad of a drive to make it up there. But that's February 19th and 20th. And FWC, if you're planning to go to these meetings, FWC does it completely different from the federal government. So FWC will have one day that's completely dedicated to fishery stuff, and then the second day is completely dedicated to hunting stuff. So the first FWC meeting I went to, I thought it was like a council meeting, so I planned both days, got a hotel room, everything, ended up only needing to stay for one day, and I wasted a lot of money on a hotel room for no reason. So I will save you that trouble and let you know if you want to go talk to the FWC about that snook, trout, and redfish closer. According to the agenda here, that is going to be only the first day. So that's February 19th. And also, oh, okay. I thought they were talking about red snapper season, but I that caught my eye, but they're not. They're just talking about state management of red snapper. But great place to go if you want to join February 19th, Tallahassee. It's going to be a fun meeting. And that's a Wednesday, February 19th. All right, let's see here. Another question was, do you have to have a circle hook on your naked ball jig? Technically, when you're fishing offshore in federal waters for bottom reef species with natural bait, the law is you must use circle hooks. But as far as a lot of jigs go, a lot of jigs come with J hooks on them, but jigs that are made for offshore fishing typically will have a circle hook option as well. So you can always order jigs with the circle hooks. But we do have a new D hookers coming out from Barracuda Tackle, and those new D hookers, I know, guys, it's been a wait. It's been a long wait, but it's going to be worth the wait. I've been told today it's going to be about 2 weeks. We'll have them in the shop. I know every show it seems like I say 2 weeks, but I'm hopeful and I have faith that this is the last time I'll say 2 weeks because they got to come out soon. I've seen the packaging. I've seen the device. It's really, really, really good. It's much improved over the already really cool model that worked really well. So I'm very excited. Barracuda Tackle is going to be releasing those Hubbard's D hookers very shortly. So coming out soon. And we'll have a ton of them in our tackle shop for you to pick up. And we'll make sure we make lots of videos and lots of announcements when we get those D hookers in. Another question here was my friend and I, what's the process? Good question. My friend and I scheduled a trip that was canceled a couple months ago due to weather. What's the process for rescheduling? When we know bad weather's coming, we often will call you. Like, for example, I told you earlier, this Friday we have a 39-hour trip scheduled and the weather doesn't look so good. So we actually called those guys today and said, hey guys, weather doesn't look good Friday. Can you join us Tuesday? We know the weather looks really good Tuesday, February 11th, 2 days from now for that light 39-hour trip. And gave them an option to transfer to the trip that we know is going to have good weather. Because when we know bad weather's coming, we do the best we can to give you as much notice as possible. Now, if it's just like borderline, we might not call you way ahead of time like that, but we might shoot you an email, we might shoot you a text. If weather just comes out of nowhere, obviously we can't give you warnings like that, but we really try our best to communicate with you if not over communicate with you. Plus, we do our live videos on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel a lot to kind of keep you informed as you have trips coming up and let you know what's going on. So definitely stay tuned to that. But when the weather is so bad we have to cancel a trip, you have the option to cancel out and get a refund. You have the option to transfer to a new trip, or you can just wait and reschedule and use that money you already paid towards a new trip. So if we canceled on you due to weather, all you have to do is call us back and reschedule. It's that easy. We're open 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. this time of year. So give us a shout tomorrow. We can get you rescheduled to answer your question. Another question was, how are the 10-hour trips doing? We already talked pretty extensively about those 10-hour trips and how well they are doing right now on the hogfish. We've been catching some nice lanes, vermilions, gray snappers, handful of red grouper. We did real well on the 10-hour trip today. It was a little slow to start, excuse me, but it was a great finish. So come out with us Tuesday and see firsthand how well they're doing. Another question were, how deep are you finding the hogfish? We find them anywhere from about 30 to 70 foot of water. Right now, closer to around 40 to 60 foot is a great place to target those hogfish. Another question about hogfish was, are they a finicky fish to catch? Yes, very much so. Hogfish are definitely pretty finicky, and they are tough to get chewing because they bite really softly. They're one of the last fish to bite. They're really slow to get to chew, so you typically have to fish a spot a while, and they're one of the last fish to bite. So they are a little tricky to catch. They can be definitely finicky. But you keep working at it and use that lighter tackle like 30-pound fluorocarbon, 3 or 4/0 hook, 1 ounce lead, and 4 or 5 of those 8mm red beads in between that 1 ounce lead and that 3 or 4/0 hook. Rigged up as a knocker rig is a great option for those hogfish. I like using spinning rod and reel. About 4000 series reel with a lighter spinning rod, something with a good backbone but light sensitive tip. Like those custom Hubbard's Marina bull bay rods we have in our shop were great. And I really enjoy fishing for hogfish, but lighter tackle, lighter fluorocarbon, natural presentation on a live shrimp is a great option for sure. Now let's see here. Are you allowed to bring your own pre-brined bait on the boat? Of course. You can bring whatever you want on the boat as far as bait is concerned, as long as it's not something that has a size limit or bag limit that we catch in the Gulf. It's got to be legal size, that kind of stuff. Can't be one of those baits that's illegal to use. But as long as it's legal bait, you're more than welcome to bring it on the boat with us. Just remember, no glass, no guns, no drugs, no alcohol, no bananas. And on any 10-hour trip or longer, we don't allow any electronics with GPS. So no smartphones, no smart watches, no computers, iPads, Kindles, nothing with the GPS on a 10-hour trip or longer. On a half-day trip, you're welcome to bring your phone, but on 10-hour trips or longer, no smartphones, no smart watches, nothing with the GPS. We'll take your photo for you, and we'll send it to you absolutely free. Another question was, what happened at the Gulf of Mexico Fishery Management Council that I attended 2 weeks ago in New Orleans? Well, a lot of stuff happened, but the federal government moves at a very slow pace. So the big news that came out of it was we're going to have a May amberjack season. Amberjack are supposed to be May, August, September, and October. Last year, the May season didn't open, so we only had August, September, and October. This year, we got the great news that the May season will for sure open, and we should have 30 days or 31 days of amberjack. So we should have a May, August, September, and October season for amberjack this year. That was some of the big news that came out of the meeting. Also, the lane snapper issue where they closed lane snapper at the end of that last year. I was able to, I don't know if it was me, but I definitely was advocating for this. The council is going to luckily do a framework action to modify those catch levels for lane snappers, so we won't have one of those stupid lane snapper closures at the end of the year this year. Also, we heard about triggerfish. They're going to open March 1st for those triggerfish, and we're going to have them open until probably around end of April. They're going to open, or they're going to close a little bit earlier than they did last year, unfortunately. Let's see here. When targeting hogfish, what's the best type of bottom to look for? And when you're catching grunts as a byproduct, do you know you're in a good spot? Hogfish, they love sitting adjacent to hard bottom areas. So smaller ledges, flat hard bottom with some good sea fans, that area is great for those hogfish. Hogfish are a wrasse. They're not a snapper or a grouper. They kind of swim above the bottom and scavenge a large area for crustaceans. So you want to look for them adjacent to the hard bottom areas. That's really good option for those hogfish. Typically we fish right along the edge of one of those smaller ledges is a great place to find those hogfish, but definitely close to hard bottom. Using crustaceans for bait is where you want to target those hogfish. And when you start catching things like grunts or lanes or mangrove snapper, you know there's life in that area. And then once everything else stops chewing, that's when you'll get an opportunity to catch one of those hogfish. They're definitely one of the last fish to bite, so it takes a lot of patience. You got to catch a lot of those gray snapper or grunts, porgies, sea bass. Typically, once you start to catch the porgies, that's when you'll first catch your hogfish, and then the hogfish will bite really well for a short period of time, and then they'll stop. And then you got to pick up and move to a new area and start that process all over again. It takes a lot of shrimp, a lot of patience, and a little bit of skill. But you can really get dialed in on those hogfish on your buddy's boat or your own boat, or come out with us on a 10-hour trip and you'll have a great shot at them too. Another question was, what kind of terminal tackle rigs are you getting those hogfish on? Typically, I like fishing them on a knocker rig. Again, a 1 ounce egg sinker, 4 or 5 of those red 8mm beads, or 3 or 4 aught hook, but also a naked ball jig, about 1 ounce is a great option. Or a jig head, a larger jig head works really well. All 3 of those you would tip with live shrimp. I wouldn't typically use the typical terminal tackle with an egg sinker, swivel, leader, hook that we use for snapper or grouper fishing. That wouldn't be my preferred method for hogfish, but you can catch them that way. I've seen it done. And typically we anchor up on a spot, we fish that spot for a while, and we start catching those hogfish towards the second half of the fishing. When you get to a spot, you start catching fish, the bite's going really well, and then all of a sudden that bite kind of tapers off and the bite slows down, and then the bite starts to really slow down. Once the bite really starts slowing down on the anchor, that's when the hogfish will start chewing. It's like a light switch flips. You catch a couple hogfish and then the bite stops. You got to go to a new spot and start that process over again. So it can be tedious. It can be time consuming, but it's a lot of fun for sure. Come out and try it on a 10-hour trip or a 5-hour trip and you'll see what we're talking about. Most of the time, the 10-hour trip, we're able to use that approach I just talked about. On a 5-hour trip, we got to catch a little bit of fish for everybody, so we're kind of sticking and moving and not necessarily targeting them as much. That's why we catch more of them on a 10-hour trip. But we definitely catch a handful or 2 on a 5-hour. You just won't see that technique that I just talked about illustrated on a 5-hour. Another question was, we were there a couple of weeks ago during that cold snap. Is it better to fish before a cold front or after? In between the cold fronts, when the weather is good, is best time to fish. Right up before a cold front is my favorite time. And then on the backside of a cold front, 3 or 4 days after it, once the water has calmed down and cleared up, the bite gets really good again. But it's hard to tell after a front when that water's going to clear up. It's easy to tell when the water's calmed down, but it's hard to tell when it's cleared up. So that's tricky. But before a front's really easy. When the weather's nice and the front's coming in, you know the fishing's going to be good. I've got a lot of other good questions here, but we are just out of time. I'm running out of time, so I'm not going to be able to get to all these great questions. I'll try to do my best to go back through and answer your questions via just typing up your answer. But if I miss it, you can always text us 727-393-1947. You can always text us at that main office number, and I can answer your question there. But a lot of you have heard that crying baby that's been crying for the last 25 minutes or so. So I'm going to wrap this thing up a little quickly and go help my wife before something bad happens to me. So we talked about Inshore fishing page that we built on our website. 12-hour extreme. We talked about the new engines on the Flying Hub 2. Hopefully the Coast Guard will give us that stability letter that we've been waiting on for 2 weeks now. Hopefully they'll give it to us very shortly, and we'll be ready to run those 12-hour extreme trips here shortly. And hopefully we got good weather. Even if we had that stability letter, unfortunately, we would have canceled a lot of trips because the weather's been really tough right now. But don't forget, we've got light 39-hour trips coming up this Tuesday. We've got another one February 21st and another one after that, February 28th. The last 2 Fridays in February. Great opportunities on the 39-hour trip. We're back to our Sunday night weekly shows. So every Sunday night until that March 30th National Marine Fisheries meeting, we're going to be here every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. Hopefully you can join us. Don't forget, February 22nd, this coming February 22nd, that's not this Saturday, that's next Saturday, we have our Bass Pro Shop seminar in Tampa. So hopefully you can join me February 22nd at that Bass Pro Shop seminar. I'm going to copy and paste the link to that fishing event at Bass Pro into the comments now. Make sure you check it out and click going or interested for me. Also, don't forget to check out our private Salt Strong page. It gives you an opportunity to collect a buy one get 3 free deal on our Salt Strong courses. Those courses that we filmed actually out on the boat. If you want to see all the stuff that we talked about tonight and a lot more on the boat in person, check out those courses. It's buy one get 3 free at that link I just added to the comments. All right, now we will see you again next Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. But let's see who won a free 39-hour trip before I sign off and go help out with my son. So let's see who won. I gotta pick it up. Let's see. It is generating, wow, 1,200 comments I had to sift through. All right, let's see who won a free 39-hour fishing trip. Dottie Wolford from St. Louis. Dottie, shoot me a text to 727-393-1947 to claim your free 39-hour trip for one person. Hopefully everybody will enjoy next week's Sunday night show. Again, every Sunday night, 8:30 p.m. Come see us sometime soon at Hubbard's Marina. Remember, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. Hopefully you guys had a great night. You enjoyed the show. We'll see you again next week. See ya.